questions upon questions upon questions have been raised about Chelsea's midfield. The midfield has actually been pointed out as the weakest area in Chelsea's off-the-ball system, making the midfield porous and allowing opponents to have direct shots on deadly positions on the pitch. The second goal Manchester City scored through Mateo Kovacic explained how Kovacic managed to just run past that midfield and have a shot on goal. This is actually indicating one problem that Chelsea have had in that midfield region. Fans and some pundits have come up with the problem in that Chelsea midfield. Now, there was a lot of stability in the first 60 minutes when Lavia played together with Caicedo at the heart of that midfield. But Enzo Fernandez, who has been made the vice captain of the team, has actually been one of the Achilles heel in Chelsea, especially in and out of possession. His clear role in the team, as well as his role when the team is defending, has been in doubt, with people wondering, is he a player whose work is to play as a player who wants to create play, who wants to dictate the play, who wants to create something for the team? Or is he a player who plays deep and acts as a controller, someone like Andre Pirlo or someone like Jorginho and Maurizio Sarri? So Enzo Maresca has tried to deploy Enzo Fernandez in two various positions. The deepest in the sixes role alongside Moises Caicedo, and the number 10 role. And in this number 10 role, he's required to look to attack the left half space. But this is also a position that Mauricio Pochettino tried to use Enzo Fernandez. But when he tried to use him in this position last season, we saw the problems. It actually took a lot in Chelsea's attack and it took a lot in Chelsea's defense because he was caught into two. The lack of athleticism and the lack of his ability to actually read the game in those two regions contributes a lot to devastating Chelsea's problems. So let's try and look at tactically, why is Enzo Fernandez a problem in that Chelsea midfield? Before we start, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. So Chelsea, Pochettino's main system is a 4-2-3-1. But Chelsea had bought Enzo Fernandez to actually play as the deeper midfielder in a 4-3-3, playing in that role in which Jorginho used to play, a player who dictates the tempo of the game and looks to find his players in between the lines. And this is something that we saw in the first game against Liverpool. And we saw how Enzo was able to play players who were occupying spaces in between the lines, and also his movement showcased how important he was in these kinds of positions. And this game exemplified Enzo Fernandez's game and actually his role in the team. So Enzo Fernandez is not just a sitting number 6 that we want him to play. And when he plays in this position, Chelsea actually noticed towards the end of last season and in the final latter stages of the Champions League is that when balls, he was able to play these balls and these balls were being intercepted by opponents, Enzo Fernandez was not the perfect shield for the back four, and majority of the times he would be beat by players and those players would be looking to run at Chelsea's back four. And this is actually some of the reasons that prompted Chelsea to go into the transfer market in search for a defensive midfielder. And we're going to try and understand, where should Enzo play, and should Chelsea now get rid of their £105 million investment? Now, when opponents decided to go long, Enzo Fernandez was also not quite great in winning those second balls, and still this made Chelsea lose a lot of games, especially towards the latter stages of last season, especially looking at Frank Lampard's interim role. So having Enzo Fernandez in this deep midfield position leaves him isolated, and that's why Chelsea decided to play Gallagher alongside him, and that's how we saw Chelsea perform very well against Liverpool at the first game of the season. And looking at these statistics, you can see how Chelsea were really looking to play forward, with Enzo Fernandez playing that left-sided midfield position, looking to find players. But Enzo Fernandez likes to progress with the ball forward, and his ability to be able to play those killer passes, through balls over the top, suits him to play slightly further high up the pitch where he's able to receive the ball. But this limits Gallagher because he is not now giving what he gives the team. You see, Conor Gallagher is such a unique player to managers because Gallagher gives managers what we call energy and stamina in the team. And majority of managers want a player such as Gallagher high up the pitch so that he can win the team the ball high up the pitch earlier on. So upon the injury of Carnage Kumeka, we saw Gallagher moving into that number 10 position. And in this position, his main aim is to press, winning the ball and denying the opponent any time and space with the ball to allow his team to regroup and go back into their normal formation. Now, Moises Caicedo was signed to be the player who will sit close to Enzo Fernandez and allow Enzo Fernandez to have time on the ball and give him that security as Enzo was building. But this did not fit well because on paper it looked great, but practically it does not work. Now, when Caicedo was brought into the team in this kind of system, Caicedo started as the second pivot next to Enzo Fernandez. And now they had a 4-2-3-1 with Enzo and Caicedo, with Enzo looking to be more the box-to-box midfielder. And majority of the times we started to see Enzo playing much freer role, a traditional number 8, pushing forward when needed, while Caicedo is being tasked to sit deep and look to cover those spaces. But this is giving Chelsea a lot of tactical problems because Pochettino still insisted that his fullbacks should push forward and try to generate width for Chelsea. And therefore Caicedo again faced what Enzo faced, and that is being isolated in midfield. And because Enzo was pushing so high and Gallagher was not dropping deep, Chelsea started to struggle. You can see from this clip, Enzo Fernandez has vacated his forward position, has dropped deep. He's looking to receive the ball and immediately look to drive forward. So here again, Caicedo is left isolated in midfield as Enzo Fernandez has pushed forward to occupy that left half space position, something that actually Pochettino admitted to be telling Enzo Fernandez to be doing. Now, because Caicedo, both Enzo and Gallagher are high up the pitch, this is giving a lot of problems for Caicedo because now Caicedo has to cover this entire midfield position by himself. And once he's being forced to cover this position, when opponents have two players against him, they're able to play quick 1-2s, and that's why we've seen Caicedo actually accumulate a lot of yellow cards this season because he has to make a lot of fouls because the back four is well exposed. And in these kinds of instances, this has really created a lot of problems for Chelsea. Now, Chelsea decided now to use wingers in these kinds of systems, and we're going to look at their most recent match. And the most recent match, we're going to look at how Chelsea actually deployed these two. And that is when Caicedo Enzo got injured, and now Pochettino had to use both Conor Gallagher and Moises Caicedo in midfield, which has worked. These two players actually are playing quite well in midfield than Enzo and Caicedo. And how is this working? Because now, when in the game against Everton, what we saw is that Caicedo was able to play those balls high up the pitch, but Gallagher is more disciplined. So when Gusto pushed forward to occupy that position so that Gusto could play alongside Noni Madueke and Palmer would look to play alongside Mykhailo Mudryk in the game against Everton, we saw that Gallagher was much more disciplined and actually allowed the team's attackers to work well when they had the ball, and actually stayed close to Caicedo and looked to actually win the ball when Caicedo was bypassed, giving Caicedo that extra support in midfield, enabling Caicedo not to cover huge spaces. Now, the huge spaces in midfield were being covered with two players, and this actually made Chelsea so solid, and that's why Chelsea overwhelmed Everton in that position. Now, Pochettino, again, as I told you, wants Gallagher high up the pitch and wants him to join the attack. And when he wants Gallagher high up the pitch, what you are realizing is that Pochettino has actually come up with a tactic that allows Gallagher to play high up and not allow Caicedo to be isolated in midfield. So how does this happen? Having Gallagher high up the pitch gives Chelsea that stamina to counter press and look to press opponents to allow the opponents to play hoofed balls where Chelsea can easily regain possession. Now, what happened is that Pochettino decided to invert Cucurella in midfield. Now, inverting Cucurella in midfield and actually playing a back three by having a centre back starting at right back is what saw Chelsea actually made a tactical revolution and moved to a 3-2-5 system, whereby Cucurella is the one who's sitting close to Moises Caicedo, giving him that strength in midfield, giving him also that freedom to receive the ball without any pressure, giving him that option when he has the ball, a player who he can pass to and look to progress the ball through the center of the pitch. And that's why against West Ham, Chelsea would easily play through West Ham, because now Chelsea had that box-shaped midfield with Cucurella giving Caicedo a chance. But Enzo Fernandez, what is going to happen to Chelsea's record signing? What is going to happen to this elite midfielder? And I'm going to tell you that actually Enzo can be used in this system. And where can Enzo Fernandez be used? He can be used at the position where Conor Gallagher is being used. So against weaker sides that don't look to press a lot, you can use Enzo Fernandez in this position, whereby he can look to use his elite passing ability and game-changing ability to try and open the left-hand side of Chelsea. And this is a position where I'm anticipating to see how Pochettino can deploy Enzo Fernandez in. And Enzo Fernandez needs to work on how he can press intelligently and look to be making those late runs in the box to try at least and shoot and give Chelsea an opportunity outside the 18-yard space. Enzo Fernandez in this position should be quite robust out of possession, looking to press and denying the opponent any time and space on the ball. Cucurella in this position will be covering Enzo Fernandez, allowing Enzo Fernandez to push forward, because now Caicedo has a player who is able to sit alongside him in midfield and give Chelsea that extra layer of protection in midfield. And Pochettino can have the dream of having Enzo Fernandez playing higher up the pitch, using his creativity to open Chelsea's attacking setup, something that will be very good for Chelsea next season. And Enzo Fernandez can also play alongside Caicedo in a deeper defensive block. We've seen him do that against Manchester City. And when Chelsea are without the ball, he should be able to drop deep and play alongside Caicedo, something that Bernardo Silva actually does for Pep Guardiola, and something that we've seen Manchester City doing time and time again. And immediately they regain the ball, Enzo can now push forward and Marc Cucurella can come in field, giving